the psalmist's commitment to follow his Lord. Teach me, O Lord, the way of your statutes, and I will observe it to the end. Give me understanding that I may keep your law and observe it with my whole heart. Lead me in the paths of your commandments, for I delight in it. Turn my heart to your decrees and not to selfish gain. Turn my eyes from looking at vanities. Give me life in your ways. Comfort to your servant your promise, which is for those who fear you. Turn away from the disgrace that I dread, for your ordinances are good. See, I have longed for your precepts. In your righteousness, give me life. Well, a number of years ago, before Nancy sent out arrows of displeasure, which pierced my spirit and pounded me on the mental head and said, no longer will you climb ladders and go up on a roof. Long before that occurred, I had a rickety old ladder, wooden ladder that should have been thrown away 20 years earlier. And I went to the back of our garage, which has a railroad tie bank so that it wouldn't fill up against the garage. And I had the ladder set on 2 legs on one of the boards and 2 legs on the ground. And I climbed up the ladder, and it wasn't all that tall, but I climbed up the ladder and I put the snowblower on the roof. And just as I did, the ladder went like that. And I slammed my chest against the roof and bounced off of it like a rubber ball and landed on my back on the railroad ties. And I heard a crack. And I said to myself, oh my God, I've broken my back. Nancy will kill me. And there was tingling in my legs and in my feet. And I thought, I'm still hanging on the wooden barrier. And I slid down, and to my great joy, I said, oh my God, my feet are okay. I went out fairly quickly and purchased a new ladder, came back and went back up on the roof. But for several days, probably 2 weeks, the black and blue marks and the soreness on my back remained as a reminder of my stupidity. Now, I tell the story not to share one of the multitude of stupidities that I have participated in, things I have said, things I have done. Afterward, I said, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was a wrong decision that I made. But I tell you the story because in some respects, the psalmist reminds me that literally every moment, every day, there are moments when we express a prayer to God, and sometimes the prayer is made up of one word, God, or my God, or oh God, and a score of other ways that we use the name of God to express our anger, our disapproval, and our disappointment. Now, the story reminds me of how powerful the Psalms are if you read them through your own life experience, if you read them through your own thoughts and concerns, if you read them through how you're living your life and what's going well and what's going wrong in your life, you're going to find yourself in the Psalms. Now, Psalm 119 is a rather long psalm, and I chose out only a small section of it, which is an affirmation on the part of the psalmist, an ordinary person, as far as I know, who expresses their desire to seek guidance from God and their pledge to turn to God's order in life, God's principles in living, God's commandments, God's rules and regulations which govern the universe and can govern a happy and full life. And a life that develops relationships between yourself and other persons, and maybe entire communities, and one would pray perhaps between nations. The psalmist is saying, I will turn to you because I know that you will provide me with what I need. Now, the wonderful thing, it seems to me, if you're willing to do what I've suggested for you to do and just thumb through the Psalms and pick out one of them, pick out the 4th, pick out the 18th, pick out the 33rd, pick out the 75th, or pick out any one of them and see how it might address you and what your life experience somehow can be transferred and understood through and found help as a result of having explored what the psalmist has to say. We've made of the Psalms such a sacred document that we sometimes think, oh, that's not me. That can't possibly be speaking about me. But if you look at the Psalms and learn indeed that oftentimes the words are poetic in nature, and they help you understand that when the psalmist says, my bones are aching, think about what it's like when you're depressed and sad and your bones are always aching. And think about when your stomach is churning. There's nothing that's settled in your stomach. When you're anxious and fearful and doubtful about your future or doubtful about something that has occurred that will have impact on you. Think about it, because indeed, those words are speaking not about bones in your body particularly, but the struggle of bones. I remember that wonderful song that was sung by our African-American brothers. Them bones gonna walk around. They were dead before, but now they're alive because the Spirit of God has been imparted into them. Listen to some of the words from these psalms. They're simple words, and you likely have said them at some time. Do not abandon me. The psalmist is convinced that he's all alone in the world. Friends have left him. A family have rejected him, and neighbors are making fun of him and mocking him. And indeed, he's convinced that now God has abandoned him as well. An honest confession of aloneness and isolation. And it is honest for us to share that sense of our own aloneness. And why have you forsaken me? Beginning with, my God, why have you forsaken me? That's what Jesus said. Clouds and thick darkness surround me. Who has not been depressed? Who has not had to deal with the loss of somebody special in your life, and you sense the clouds and thick darkness around you, and where is the sunlight? Where is the sunlight? Well, you know that Jesus said, I am the light of the world. You no longer need to live in darkness. And you and I become that light as we respond to others who are struggling, who are in the darkness. You bring the light with your gentleness, your kindness, and your presence. As the psalmist has said, deliver me from my enemies. I have sinned. The psalmist honestly confesses, I have sinned. Or the psalmist will say, we have sinned, when speaking about the nature and conduct of the nation. Are you with me? The psalmist says, hear my cry. Who does not want to be heard when things are going bad in your life, when things are coming unglued, falling apart? Who does not want to be heard? Someone to listen. And sometimes all they need to do is say, I hear you. I hear you. Why do you stand far off, says the psalmist. Can you imagine that? These are 150 psalms that are considered to be sacred psalms in the Old Testament. And the psalmist is sharing his gut feeling. Why do you stand so far away from me? Why? And then the psalmist turns around very quickly and says, I will praise you with all of my heart. By the way, heart in the Old Testament and in the New Testament is often not that pulsating thing in your body, but heart is where the core of life is. When your heart stops, so do you stop. So at the very core of your life as a spiritual person, your spiritual heart needs to keep pumping powerfully, emanating the source of life within your spiritual being. And then, as if to prophesy the coming of Jesus, the psalmist says, give light to my eyes. Give light to my eyes. It's why we say words like insight. Having insight means our eyes internally see and understand and recognize the struggle that we have created sometimes by ourselves, and how we need to turn to God and to others to help us move away from the struggles we've created. May my prayer come before you. Turn your ear to my cry. These are great words. These are our words. They're the words that we express and often say as we are thinking about things that happen. Think about it. The number of times you start a phrase in your mind or out loud, my God. Why does that person do that? My God, am I lucky to have be missed by that car? My God, I fell from the roof and I didn't break my back. And I'm still alive. So we honestly and sincerely need to put ourselves into the Psalms and learn from the psalmist about the honesty and the integrity of their sharing with God who they are, what their hopes and dreams are, what their anguish is, what the mistakes and the sins are that they've committed, the relationships that have been broken, and then to give praise to a God who doesn't ignore you and say, I'm sorry, I'm on vacation, or I've got too many appointments, you'll have to see me 5 months from now. This God responds to us immediately. Immediately. Sometimes we get messages we don't like. Sometimes the words are, yeah, what you're asking for, I don't give, but what you're asking for, I will give you something that will actually bring wholeness and health and healing to you. And so I urge you to join me as we journey through the Psalms and discover the wonder and the beauty and the incredible counsel that they offer to each of us as we live our lives as followers of Jesus, who said, I am here. I will give you another counselor, the Spirit, to nurture you. Turn to that Spirit and ask the Spirit to help you guide yourself through the Psalms. Fair enough? Fair enough. God bless you.